In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create an arrow tip here for the donut chart in chart.js 4. And as you see, if I refresh, you can see the animation and the arrow tips will move along with the donut slice. Let's start to look how we can do this. So to do this, the first thing what we need to have is our boiler template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page. And of course, got a question, put it on Discord. So what we're going to do now is create this donut chart. So we're going to convert it into a donut chart first. Save that, refresh, there we are. Next, what I want to do here, of course, is remove the scale. A donut chart does not have a scale. That's better. Next, what I need to do is I want to change the aspect ratio. We'll be needing to do this because of the next part for this. So we're going to say here, aspect ratio will be 2. So that means that the width is twice compared to the height. That's what we're doing here. And then finally here I say comma, and we're going to say here this will be the cut out percentage or cut out. And we say 80% will be cut out, so we have a 20% thickness for our item. So to create this triangle or arrow tips here, what we need to do is to draw and do some tricks around that. So the first thing what I want to do here is a comma. After the options, I'm going to say plugins. And then in our plugins, this is an array, and we're going to call this our arrow tip. So once we have this plugin here, we can now start to draw or do something with it. So we say arrow tip, the ID will be equal to arrow tip. And then we're going to say here, after data sets draw. And the reason why after is because we want to draw this on top of our data here, basically on our donut slices. So then we have here the chart, the arcs, and the plugin options. Once we did this, we're going to say constant, and we do an object destructuring. Just want to split out the objects in the chart object, or basically the values in the chart object. And what I will be needing here is, I think, only the CTX, because the CTX allows us to draw in the canvas. So now we have these here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to draw the item. To draw the item, I need some information from the slice. Number one, I would like to know the thickness of the slice. Number two, I would like to have the shape here. So we're going to draw the shape first in here. And then after that, we're going to rotate that into position. We want to make sure it will rotate nicely with all the items here. So let's start to do one thing at time. First of all, let's get the coordinates that we need. For that, I do a console log. We say chart, and then we do here the get data set meta, and then we say here data set 0 because we only have one data set here, and then I guess we can say here the data. If I save this, refresh, open up the console tab or the developer tab, you can see here an array with all the information that I'll be using. One of the information that I need is the end angle, the starting angle. We're going to need here, let's see, what is that? I guess the outer radius will be necessary, the X and Y. This position here is the very center. We'll be starting with that because this will, or what we're going to do is we're going to draw a shape, put it somewhere here, and after we're going to put it up. So let's start to do that first. So we're going to say here ctx.save to save all variables above. Then we're going to say here ctx dot, I guess we can do the translate, but before we do translate, I'm going to say here, I want to get the center, and I will rename this X and Y, which is the exact center here, will be set to 0, 0. So that will be the new coordinate for this. So first of all, I say constant, and we'll call this the X center. And I would say the X center will be equal to the data point of this here. So we're going to grab this data, and then index 0, and then dot X. Next, what I want to do is the same thing, but then for the Y center. Then I'm going to say here ctx.translate, and you'll see now once I do this, I will say the new 0 point will be X center, and the new 0 point for the Y will be Y center. Once I did that, I'm going to say ctx.restore here. Make sure you have this. The save and restore are important with the trend state. If you don't do that, you get a very weird animation of something like changing very fast or rotating very weirdly. So make sure you have these between here, or at least the translate between these two. So now, if I would draw something very straightforward, I'll say here ctx.rect, and we're going to make just a simple rectangle of 10 pixel, 10 pixel, 10 pixel by 10 pixels. So basically this will be a square shape. If I do this, all right, of course we need to make sure we say here ctx.fill style, and this fill style will be black for now. And I say here ctx.fill, save, refresh. There we are. As you can see here, it's 10. If I do this 0, do it here, you can see it will just start nicely in this center here. If I remove this, you will notice that now it will start here, as you can see. All right, so you can see, ignore these colors here. We'll figure that out later on. This is the most important, so we understand why we're doing this. So what I want to do now is I want to go to this part here. I want to be here up. So luckily we can calculate this quite straightforward as well and quickly, because we have here the information. Because what we can do now is we can just say here constant outer radius, put that in here, because now what we know is this here is the very top. So what I want to do is I want to move this upwards here based on the outer radius. So let's grab this, and if I would say this will be outer radius, but outer radius, if this is 0, then whatever the outer radius value would be, it will go down. So I need to make sure it's negative. So I'm going to say here negative outer radius, save, refresh, and now we are at the right position. Let's start to fix this, because this creates some confusion. Because later on we're going to use some a for loop here, a for each loop. I want to make sure that this save and restore will be also included in the for each loop. So what I'm going to do here is, well, this could be done here down. When we draw this shape, I'm going to say ctx.begin path. So we're going to say this is a new shape independent of anything else. This bleed over comes because we didn't indicate that this is a new shape. There we are. Now it looks all very nice. So we need to now start to draw this triangle. So what I'm going to do here now is start working on getting some of the data. So we have the outer radius, but I also need to know the inner radius, basically this part of the item, so we can calculate the width or the height of the slice. So what I'm going to do here, just going to copy this and then just say here inner radius. There we are. Put that in there. Then what I'm going to do next is I would like to know here as well the very center of the two here. So I will call this the center radius. It should not be really, that's not the right term for it, but you understand what it is related to. So what is the center radius? This doesn't exist here, of course, so we need to make a calculation for this. So the center radius is basically the difference between the two. So say outer radius minus inner radius, so we get a difference. But then I want to say here, this needs to divide by 2 because I want to be in the very center. And once I have that, we're going to say afterwards plus the inner radius, which makes sense. So we're going to get first the difference of the two, and then we divide that, so we're in the center, and then plus the standard will give us the right position. So we're going to put that in there, and I think for now we have a suitable amount of information to do our starting point. Alright, so for this we're going to draw basically 6 dots that we connect with a line. It will become a so-called arrow. So, well, it is an arrow, but it will not be a rectangle here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start with the first dot. We say here move to. This is the starting point, and this needs an x and y coordinate. So for now, let's do very simple. I'll just draw it here in the center. So we are not going to work with this here up, we'll do it later on. So what I'm going to say here for the starting point, for the move tool, let's say it will be 0 plus, I guess, 10. That will be it. Then, now it could be even 10 as well, it doesn't really matter, but let's leave it like that, 0 plus 10. And here, I'll just leave this on 0, just to see how this starts to look. So this will be our first starting point. Copy this, then I'll make another one, and this will be the line tool. So if whatever our position is here, we want to now go basically downwards and a little bit to the right, so we get this diagonal line. So for that, that's this connecting line. The move tool is this first starting dot, and this is the connecting line. So for that, to do that, I guess what we could do is we can just say 0 here, and then we say plus 10. However, we need to go downwards as well. How much we should go down is basically based on the inner radius difference. But let's say for now, we're going down 10 pixels. Once we did that, I'm going to copy this. Or let's say here, stroke, to draw the line. I have a visual. Now, as you can see here, let's zoom in a bit. It gets something. Alright, so what we could do here now is just copy this. And then we're going to say again here 0. And this here will be, let's say, 20 pixels downward. Save, refresh, and now we get that. So the next thing what I need to do is, because since these lines are all connected, I cannot start up, because if not, this line will go upwards here. So what I need to do is, I need to work from down and making it up. Luckily, it's quite straightforward, because all the information here could be copied, but then in reverse order. So I'm going to say copy this one, put it down here, which is basically this line here. Then we can just say here, I want to go to the left. Let's say minus 10. Alright. Then, what I want to do next is getting this one here. Well, let me just hide these and show you what we have. Alright, then we have to make the same line here, which was this specific line. But now we say here instead of plus, we do negative 10. Save, refresh. Nope, that doesn't work really well. And the reason why is this plus 10, negative 10? Maybe this should be 0. Let's see if that works. Then, alright, that is much better. And of course, once we did that, we can just grab this one here, going there, and then is at 20. I think it should be 10 as well, or minus 10 here, and this should be 20. Well, we leave that as 20. So line 2, didn't saw it move. Did it move? No, it goes back to that. I am not convinced that this is working, and of course no, it is not working. So what is going on here? So I'm going here, there, and then I'm going backwards. So what I need to do is I need to go higher. So I think we need to have number 10 here, because I need to go upwards. There we are. As you can see here, it works. We're not that accurate. Let's see if I put this on 0. No, that is not it. Hold on, let me just check. Where do we need to go? I need to go upwards, and I need to go more to the left. So this should be 20. No, that is absolutely not. Hold on. Alright, so I put it back on 10. That's correct. And this, of course, to go upwards on the Y scale, we need to go back to 0. There we are. Now we have this. I want to close that. So what I'm going to do here is, let's delete all this. Before we draw the line, that's the stroke command, we're going to say ctx, and then we're going to say here, close path. This will close the line here. There we are. Alright, so now we have that here. What I would like to do now is just to move some of these in position. And remember, we had this center radius and all these items. We can use those as well. So for the line tool, I'm going to say here, This will be the center radius, and this one will be center radius. Oh no, this is not center radius. This will be center radius. Yes, that is correct, because this one is here the pinpointing item. Then what I want to do is to go upwards. I need to move this up, so I'm going to say here for the outer radius we're going upwards here, but it's a negative value, so make sure you do that one as a negative value. Then we have the center radius here, and then we have here a negative value, but the inner radius. So basically here, let me just hide that tooltip because it's blocking or very confusing. Plugins, tooltip, enable, false, save, refresh. Alright, of course it gives me now an error because I had something here not set. Am I correct? Plugin tooltips, hold on. Syntax will 102. Of course, that's this one here. Let's hide this, save, refresh. Alright, no tooltip, but while doing that, as you can see here, it is driving itself nuts. So it doesn't understand what's going on. So this one here will be negative on inner radius. Then, remember we're now basically in the mirror reflection. This will be negative inner radius. This is center radius. And then I think this should be negative as well. So these are all negative. And then finally here, negative outer radius. Save, refresh. There we are. That looks quite nice. So now what I need to do is, and you could make this a bit more smaller if you want to. Maybe 5 or 7 pixels would probably be more sufficient. And if I look here very carefully, maybe we need to go even 1 pixel down, but we'll see that later on. What I would like to do next is make this now completely white. So we're going to say here white, and then I'm going to say here ctx dot stroke style for the border lines. They will be white as well. Let's do that first, and then we're going to say here for the item ctx dot fill to draw the filler style, save, refresh. Alright, and as you can see here, while this looks quite nice, it is a bit slightly off here, maybe 1 or 2 pixels. Now that could be because we have the border width here that we need to calculate. So what we can do here is maybe say this goes 1 more down. Let's see if this will make it look better. Oh, alright, and I guess this should not be, this should be probably plus an additional. And that's much better. Of course, we're not done here yet. We have 2 things to do. First of all, the colors that need to match here. If you want to have a border color here, we're going to work on that. But first, I would like to make sure that when we rotate it, at least it will rotate to here. So how do we do this? So for that, what I'm going to do here, first of all, is we're going to make this in a for loop, or for each loop. So we will have to create 7 of these items. So let's do that right away, because then it will become easier for us for everything else. So what I'm going to say here, I'm just going to grab all of this data dot for each, and then we're going to say here for every data point index function arrow expression, and then put that all together. Let's cut that all out, and then paste. And then here, alright, like that. So if you've done that, put that in there. Alright, next, now we have this data point here, so we can remove a lot of these items here. The data point that is basically X. So we can just do this all like that. Give it a nice shorthand. Anything else? No. Save, refresh. Of course, we don't see anything yet. Now, let's move into the next part. So what I need to do here is I need to know here the end angle, which is basically also accessible through the same data here. So I'm just going to say a constant end angle, and the end angle is very similar item, so data point dot end angle. This here is basically indicating the end position. So I'm going to grab that so I can move our arrow shape here. So what we're going to do now is going to start to calculate that, but for that I need to do a rotation. So I'm going to rotate this there, and to rotate I need to make sure we have the degree amount. So what I'm going to say here, constant angle will be equal to math.pi divided by 180 degrees, because 1 pi is equal to a half circle. So now we have these items together, we can start to do a rotation. So we have the begin path, translate. I guess we can do this after the translate. I'm going to say ctx.rotate. And then this rotate gives us the angle, how much we want to rotate. And I'm wondering, am I needing this? I don't think so even. You can just put it in like that probably. Let's see if that works. Save, refresh. Alright, and as you can see here, it works, but there's a small but. The starting point is here. If you understand how the canvas draws, it calculates the starting point of a degree of 0 here. So 1 pi is a half circle, so that will be here. 2 pi is full circle, is here again. But what I need to do is I need to go back a quarter of a circle, which is basically half a pi. Alright, so what we're going to do here is, I guess we could just recalculate that one, or we can calculate the end angle here. What I'm going to say here, the end angle plus the math.pi divided by 2, because 1 pi is half a circle, so divide by 2 is a quarter of a circle, and I guess this one here would have no function at all. Save that, refresh. There we are. That looks much better, although this one here, to be honest, is really thick. But I will leave it for now as it is. So next, what I want to do then is, I would like to create these lines here, because these are the so-called border lines that we need to apply. So how do we do that? Well, we can just easily follow based on the information we have here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to enter, and then we're going to say again, we're going to create a new path here. So it's a new line, and I'll just grab all of these here, or at least let's see what are these here. Let's copy the first one here. Most likely that would be this first front line, so put that in there. Let's say for the color, this is a border color that we're going to deal with, and make sure you have semicolon here, don't be sloppy. Put it in there, save, and I'm going to say this will be red for now. Later on, I'll just get the item itself. I'm going to say a red, and then we're going to say yes, ctx.stroke to draw the item. Save. We don't need to use a closed path, because we're just only creating basically 2 lines, 3 dots that connect the 2 lines all together. So let's save this, refresh. There we are. I guess that is quite nice. You can see here, maybe we need to move a little bit up. So let's see if we remove this, what happens. We could probably put in here, or maybe I'll just maybe say here as well, plus. Let's see if that will look much better. No, not really. I'll just ignore this one. There we are. Maybe, I do have a feeling that maybe we should say here -1 and here -1 as well. Alright, that doesn't really work. +1, -1, will I make it better? No, not at all. I'm going to remove this. And this one, I'll say here +0.5. Alright, I'll take it as it is. You can fine tune that one. I don't want to spend too much time on this for now. So what we do here is we have these, and what I want to do now is making sure we have the color here. So this is the ending color, I realize. So that will mean that it's connected to the blue or the next one. So so this will be, let's put that down there, and start. Alright, for the start, Same logic, we're going to copy all of this. But in this case, I will be needing these here. So if this is the start, remember here, we need to make sure that the first one is a dot, move to. Save that, and let's say this is red and make this blue. Save, refresh. Alright, that looks much better. So now, what we're going to do here is getting the right colors. So how do we get the colors? Well, we can get the color for the first one within the data point here, and that's quite straightforward process. We're going to say get this data point, and then we're going to say here dot, and then options, then border color. Save, refresh. So now the colors are starting to match except for the blue one. So next what we need to do is the blue one. So how do we do the blue one here? Well, the blue one requires some logic, and where we have to check, because we are not, we can do it like this, but we will have one problem if we do it. You can say here chart.get data set meta 0 data, and then we can say here data would be index plus 1, and then the option border color. However, this will give an error. Why? Because the black one at the end is 6, and then we'll look for number 7, and there's no number 7 in the data set. So we need to get number 0 again. So what I'm going to do here, create a logic. Say if, you can maybe say here, let color or border color logic. And I'm going to say here the following. Say if the index equals strict, and then say data dot labels dot length. And the reason why I'm doing that is I just want to get, or want to only know if we are on the last one, which is index 6. So I'm just going to get here the data dot labels, get the length of that array, and then -1. If this is the case, what I would like to do is the border color logic will be equal to 0, because it's the only last one that we need to grab. And else, we want to say here is color will be the one that we have assigned here, equals this. Let me say here, this will then change to color, so we have this if else statement. Save, refresh. There we are, and as you can see here, we have to make sure where the right color is being assigned to. This one here, what is this exactly? Why is this one black as well? So that should not be. If this, then the logic would be data. Hold on, is that all correct? Alright, let me double check. Alright, sorry, my bad. I can see here if we have some issues. Of course, this here has not the right logic or the color constant. There we are, my bad. So now we can see here this works. I'll check if I can fine tune this a little bit more, because this is, we're somehow slightly off by 1 pixel, I think. So let's try here and make this 1 instead of 0. That looks slightly better, although not everywhere. And then maybe the other one here, start is maybe -1. Let's see here. Not really. Let's try this one. It's slightly off. It is, you can probably play with it a little bit more. Maybe you can just say here for the stroke style. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to say here, let's do that in here, the begin path here. I'm going to say ctx dot line width set this on 2. So I'm not sure how many pixels align with it. 2. Alright, that is definitely not the case. So I'm going to say here, this is 1. Alright. I'll be trying to check on this if I can make it eventually better. Probably we could move this a few pixels or something like that, but this is very rough sketch here. Let's see a stroke. Did I have any stroke here? Maybe I need to remove any stroke item. Alright, I just figured out the issue is when you zoom in too much, you will get it very weird viewed. So what I did was make sure you make this all 1. These should be all -1 according to my notes as well. That's why I was so confused. Save that, refresh. Now they look very nicely aligned, but if you zoom in, you might get very weird results. But if you are just zoomed out to 100%, which is the correct item, now you can see it looks all beautiful. Alright, and that is part 1 of this.